We are tasting Australia's best wine.
What?
Or at least according to the judges at the Royal Melbourne Wine Awards from the 2014 show. Because today we're looking at the 2013 SC Pannell Syrah from the Adelaide Hills. But wait, this was the Jimmy Watson Trophy winner.
It was the big dog, the big Australia's biggest wine award.
Yeah.
Cleaned out the whole Melbourne Wine Show in 2014, yeah?
It was the 2014 show,
Yeah.
but the 2013. Now, I remember this very, very closely because it wasn't long after we started our business.
Yeah.
And we, being the excellent judges of wine and character and lovely humans that we are, we're working closely with Steve Pannell already at this point. And we actually had bought a bit of this because, again, we just have fantastic palates and
Yes.
and we obviously knew what was to come. So we had bought what for us was like massive volume. If we had like 8 dozen or something of this wine, which would have been just about the biggest purchase we'd ever made. And I remember laying in bed at night, not even knowing the Royal Melbourne Wine Awards were happening.
Yeah.
Right. And we had on the website back then when we got an order, there was like a little cash register noise that went off. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Like, I needed that like vindication, for starting a business. And it's like, oh, there's money coming in. This is great. And I remember laying there in the middle of the night and all night my phone was just cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And my wife's like, what the hell is that? What is that? And I'm like
the website's broken.
Something must be broken. I look in the morning and I'm like, oh, shit, we have way oversold this wine. Because everyone, of course, Googled it and discovered us. And it was kind of great because we got a bunch of new customers and it helped us get a bit of a roll on and we managed to secure a bit of stock. So it was always a bit of a special wine for different drop. And amazingly, Steve's held back some of this wine and has just done like a 10-year re-release.
Very sneaky of him.
Very sneaky.
He said he held back like a pallet or so to release it once it was 10 years old. And it's a pretty bold move because, we've tasted a fair few Jimmy Watson winners over the years.
Of course.
And they're not always like sort of particularly age-worthy wines.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes they're just like, they look great at the time. And
well, the thing with the Jimmy Watson Trophy is that the idea is that it's the best young dry red.
Yeah.
So it's the best 1-year-old red. So if you think about a lot of Australian red wines, they don't necessarily look great at 1 year of age. So the wines that you might think to cellar for a long time.
Yeah.
So it'd be really, really interesting to see how this looks. I'll pour some, but the other amazing thing about this wine was that it was the first Adelaide Hills wine to win the award.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And also just taking into account, a decade ago, this whole cool climate Syrah sort of, movement in Australia.
Yeah.
You had your Clonakillas and you had, a little bit of Shaw and Smith and those sorts of things. But there hadn't been really a wine that had stood out and gone like, cool climate Shiraz is here.
Yeah, it really made waves and it really got Steve going too because, I'm sure most of you know about Steve Pannell and the SC Pannell label, but with all of his amazing background in winemaking, it was still quite a adventurous kind of venture for him to go out on his own and start his own label because he was really focusing on alternative grape varieties like Tempranillo, Touriga, Nebbiolo, these sort of things. And cool climate Syrah. He had the classics from McLaren Vale and Shiraz and Grenache, but he was really just kind of getting going. And this award really catapulted. And if you remember, for the next couple of years after this, he won just about everything.
That's right. Because he'd keep cleaning up like McLaren Vale Wine Show and Bush and King Awards.
And it was the New South Wales or the Royal, the National Wine Show. He won Best Wine Show with the GST.
And he brought all the plates in here?
Yeah, he did. The king of bling, Steve Pannell.
The king of bling.
What a man.
Anyway, this at 10 years old, I remember back when this was released, it was quite spicy, quite like pepper, a lot of that reductive funk in Syrah, which was really kind of a signature of this back in the day. It sort of pulled back a fair bit on that in his Shiraz winemaking now for the Pannell wines,
but he said he wanted to try and replicate almost like a Northern Rhone Valley style.
Yeah, and he nailed it.
He loved those wines. And when he looked at the Adelaide Hills, he's like, well, we can make that here as well.
Definitely.
So this comes from a vineyard in the Achunga kind of sub-region of the hills, sort of in the southern part of the Adelaide Hills, about 400 metres above sea level. I don't believe it's a site Steve still works with. But even then, he was making the wine in quite a forthright way, in a more forward-thinking way, sorry, I should say, in that mostly large format oak and mostly older oak.
Right.
So, back then, 10 years ago, so long ago, the trend was still you want an oak with your Shiraz, your Aussie Shiraz.
Definitely
small barrels for more impact, new oak. And Steve was really into the more kind of European way of doing things with larger format, old oak just for seasoning, and let the fruit really shine.
Mate, have you tasted this yet?
No, I'm just looking at it.
It's
just talking while you.
It's in really, really bloody good shape.
Oh, how's the charcuterie?
Yeah, so meaty and sort of spicy, but it's like drinking velvet on the palate. Like the tannin has softened so much, still so much fruit power and density to it. Bit of spice, but like it's sort of right in the slot.
Yeah, really in the sweet spot. I'll be honest, I'm not always a fan of older wine. It's so hard to get the window just right when you try these wines, and I really love like freshness and vitality, energy in the reds I drink. That to me, though, as you say, really is in a lovely spot because it still feels alive.
There's still so much primary fruit there. Yeah. Like it's still like, plum and blackberry and sort of red cherry kind of characters in there. Little tickle of spice still hanging around, but it was so dense and
dark.
It was black as a young wine. And it just feels like it's just sort of loosened up a bit. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
How cool.
Red hot.
There you go.
That's fun.
That's really fun. In terms of drinking it from here, I'd say, it's probably got another decade in it. I'd be looking to enjoy it between now and, say, the next 3 or 5 years, I reckon.
Yeah.
That's when it's going to be really, really jumping out.
I don't think it's going to get better than what it is like at the moment. It's kind of just like, how do you like your Shiraz?
Yeah. And it does have, now that I sit with it, it does have those secondary characters sort of coming in. There's a bit of leather.
Just a touch. Yeah. Like, it's just like, it's really lovely, like a little bit of nuance and complexity in it now.
A bit of almost like a forest floral kind of character, like a kind of mushroomy, umami sort of character.
So good.
Wow.
So cool.
Really cool. Yeah, well, I did a Grenache tasting with Steve last year, and he brought some very old Grenache, and they look just incredible. So obviously the guy knows how to make wine for the cellar, and just knows how to make wine in general. We love everything Steve does. And yeah, as I say, this was a really significant wine for us at the time, and so amazing to try it again today. We have a very, very small amount going onto the website. So if you are a fan of aged Jimmy Watson trophy winning red wines, join the queue.
Then that's probably a niche that you don't get to fill very often. So
yeah. So this will disappear in no time flat. So jump on the site and have a look out for some of this. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, guys, because I can't think of a reason why you shouldn't.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Check this out if you get a chance. It's not every day you get to try a 10-year-old Jimmy winner.
Unless you're asking, in which case we do this all the time. So
yeah.
All right. Cheers, guys. Bye.